volume up.
Guess who?
And good evening, we are live. You are live on Freak Show number 14. And tonight we have Mechanized.
Hello everyone, how are you doing?
We have Skelly from Manchester.
Hello, you cool cat.
Okay, we have Stig down south with his hat on.
I'll have a pee, please, Bob.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are truly honoured by only the coolest guy in the whole planet. It is Jared from Wasteland Weekend.
Woo! Hey everybody.
Hey Jared.
And how are you, sir?
Successful launch today from the Dragon, first manned space launch from the United States in 9 years. So I'm throwing on my NASA shirt and my vaguely NASA jacket.
Very cool. Yeah, we witnessed that. That was some awesome.
Absolutely amazing. Well done, Bob and Doug. Absolutely.
Who knew the mechanics would get to space?
God. So first of all, how's everything going over in LA? Are you still in lockdown, or are you just about to come out? Or?
We are just starting to emerge from lockdown over here. This city, for those of you who aren't in this area or don't pay attention to the news here in the we statewide locked down a little sooner than some other parts of the country and in a little more serious way. That's been beneficial to keeping case numbers down. Luckily, don't know what's going to happen now that it's going to start to get lifted a little bit. It's kind of happening gradually. There's depends on what part of the state you're in, but here in Los Angeles, especially our major city, we were locked down more than most. I think as of yesterday or today, some of the restaurants are going to start slowly reopening a little bit. And some of the outdoor areas that were closed are going to be somewhat, everything being done with restrictions, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's the same over here. So we just started to lift slowly, but it's, over here, I'm a little bit anxious because suddenly it behaves like it was wrong, and it scares me. Let's see where we end up. Let's see where we are in 2 weeks' time.
There's a little bit of that going. It's weird. I mixture. When I go out, I see a mixture of people being very responsible and then the opposite. So it's really kind of all or nothing. And I do still see a lot of people wearing masks, and the grocery stores have been open the whole time and have been doing a pretty good job of regulating things in a certain way. Me personally, I'm not go to any restaurants or bars just yet unless they have outdoor seating. Things change all the time with what we're hearing. I'm certainly no expert, but it sounds like being outdoors, just because of the ventilation, is making it a lot safer. So maybe I would consider being in an outdoor cafe. And in the city, they're going to allow restaurants that don't have outdoor seating to push out into the sidewalk and create outdoor cafe spaces. So hopefully that'll help as well.
So while we're kicking the show off, if everybody on the chat can say a big hello and a big witness to Jared, where are you? Where you from, guys? What tribes? Whereabouts in the world are you? I know we've got a big following now in Japan. We've just hit nearly nearly 850 subs as well. So the subscribers of the channel is shot up. We were going to do a special giveaway of 500, but this week we've had about an extra, 400 people join, so it's just all going crazy.
So we'll still have to give away the 500 giveaway because people were waiting for that.
We will sort something else out for that. Also, a big shout out to everybody from America. Also, everybody over in Australia, the Wasteland Museum, all the War Boys, War Girls, Spud. Hi to Spud, he's out there. Captain Timmy, Wasteland Gladiators. Swede, the naughty Swede, Tank. It just gets worse and worse. So,
Captain.
The captain.
Yes.
So,
say that there's a lot of this going on right now. A lot of people trying to figure out how to transition online, how to how to get people to watch their stuff, and you guys run one of the more professional versions of this that I've seen. So you absolutely deserve the subscribers you're getting and all the views.
Thank you.
And I hope it only continues to grow. I like seeing things done well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we always try, even with the music and with the show, to do everything to the best of our ability. And also for us, it's a way to chat with all the people we admire, Mad Max actors, all the people we love in the world, And that's why we had to have you on, sir. You were top of our list from the very, very start.
You are. Yes.
So, take a while.
A quick.
You're too kind.
So, what is everybody drinking, by the way? I am drinking. I'm drinking.
Cheersy.
What am I drinking? Rhubarb custard cider from Devon. What's everybody else drinking?
Again?
Jared, what are you? What's your choice?
I'm also drinking a cider, and I want to give this one a plug. This, and they don't pay me for this, but I'm hoping they will now. I'm drinking something called Sea Cider, SEA, second word cider. It's from Vancouver, British Columbia. I was up there. My brother for a while. I found it up there, and you couldn't get it anywhere in the United States. They just started getting distributed, very minimal in the United States. You can order them. I'll find a link to put up in this chat later, but you can order them from a company, Seattle, for distribution in the United States, and they will send it to you through the mail. The shipping isn't even that. This stuff is, this particular one is called Prohibition. I think they had two different names. It is a 12% cider, so very strong. It is aged in rum barrels, which I love. It's just great stuff.
Oh my
Really
gosh.
Good.
Mechanized, what are you?
Try that, by the way.
Mechanized, what are you drinking?
The cocktail. Jared has got a special cocktail. I've got to do, but I haven't done that. I have to drink first, but I on my list.
So Jared, you've looking at your career. Before we go into Wasteland and the world of post-apocalyptic, how did you get into voice acting?
Okay. So, it's been more than 10 years now, I think. It's kind of, people have heard the story, but some people haven't, so I'll do the short version of it. I got into voiceover late. It was a second career for me after already being in Hollywood and working as a screenwriter. And I had always been interested in it, but just never bothered with it. A class in Burbank, California at the Voice Caster. There's a cast agency, and they teach voice classes. And I was taking my second class, which was a class on animation. And because I'm here in LA, people have connections here. And the final class, they brought in, and this is just a dozen of us in a small room in Burbank, but for our final class, they brought in the head of Disney character voices, who was in charge of casting voices for various Disney projects, including casting replacement voices. Wow. So for either when one of the people who has done a voice has died, because they've been doing it since the 1930s or 40s or whatever, or have become too old. Disney's very loyal and stays with their voices for a very long time. I since the 40s have ever voiced Jiminy Cricket, for example, things like that. Right. Anyway, this guy comes into the and so our assignment, it was our final assignment, and we had to do what we call a voice match, which is where you're imitating another celebrity voice. So I did, and then a few weeks later, they were casting for a replacement for Johnny Depp for Captain Jack Sparrow, and they had already auditioned like 500 people for this. They'd auditioned everyone, and they weren't happy with what they had. And luckily, my teacher in the class advocated for me and felt like I could do this, and was friendly with the Disney character voices. And he was reluctant to try out someone who'd never done this before, who didn't even have an agent. But he gave me a shot, and I was able to get the role. And so I've now been doing most of Johnny Depp's voice work for the last 10 plus years. I do
Has anybody told
Jack Sparrow. do Tonto, I do the Mad Hatter, I do Rango, and it's been great. And in the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they needed a 17-year-old Jack Sparrow that they were going to create a combination of motion capture. They were going to do, computer graphics to make his face younger and all this. But Johnny felt like his voice couldn't sound 17 anymore, and so they had me do it. So it was finally a movie as look at the Pirates 5, the Tell No Tales. If you watch the sequence with the young Jack Sparrow, that's all my voice.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Know that.
That's
fantastic. Not in the credits. Going to be, and it happened, but his body double instead, who was really just lucky. And so it's a combination of a body double and a computer-generated Johnny Depp face and my voice. And then, of course, that got me an agent, and I was able to do other things and do other video games and commercials and all that. It's still kind of like a sideline for me. I don't put as much work into it as I should. I'm just so busy with other things like Wasteland Weekend.
Yeah.
But I've been very...
And there's another one on the horizon next to Wasteland Weekend.
Sorry.
Your another festival?
So, in addition to Weekend, a festival called Neotropolis, is like Wasteland Weekend with a cyberpunk theme. My partner Adam and I were doing Wasteland for a time, and a few years ago we started thinking about doing a Wasteland spring, just to have 2 Wastelands a year and have it maybe be a little smaller, to kind of give the flavor of some of the Wastelands. And so that was our couple of years. And then both of us independently had this idea that what if we, rather than just another Wasteland, what if we changed up and give people something else to enjoy? And we were actually both thinking, oh, what if we did some kind of like science fiction cyberpunk kind of thing? And we had this phone call where we were both kind of hesitant to bring it up to the other. We both thought if we brought it up, the other person would say no. And then it turned out we were thinking the exact same thing. And it kind of went from there. And unfortunately, we weren't able to have it this year because of COVID-19, but we're going to have it next April.
Next April.
It'll be on the same property as Wasteland. Neotropolis.com. You can you'll get all the information, and it's going to a lot of people, but also a lot of people come to Wasteland and are more interested in the kind of technology and future aspect. It's a similar kind of thing. Just give Wasteland
in the
with
future, robotics
on a future desert planet, and we it's still costumes required, and we'll still have entertainment and a bar and some kind of LARP aspects to it, but also just general festival aspects. And people are excited, and there's amazing work going on. We have a Facebook group called Neotropolis Central, where people post stuff they've been working on, and that's a lot of fun. But Wasteland Weekend is still our baby, and we're still working on great things for that for next year. And now we have, unfortunately, because we've had to postpone, we have a lot of extra time to, the bonuses that we get to maybe do some things we wouldn't have time to do, and we're thinking we're going to be here next year.
Well, I was quite not glad. That's not the right word to say, but this year we would have missed it because there was a double booking with us. So now, in one way, I'm glad I didn't anything. So there next year.
Back.
So
we are back with our snow cannons. So initially, were you a fan of Mad Max? How did you get into the whole post-apocalyptic scene?
Oh yeah, I was always a big Mad Max fan since I was a kid. I mean, it wasn't like my main fandom. I'm not sure if I had a main fandom, but it was certainly one of them. And the whole thing happened. There's a really good write-up. Carl Bartezin wrote up a history. I think it's on the Apocalypse Post website. He wrote up kind of what I would call almost like a prehistory of Wasteland, talking about all the stuff that he went through and how he met and then Wasteland happened. And then if you go to our website and go to the history link, which is wastelandweekend.com/history, that kind of picks up from there and gives the whole history of Wasteland Weekend. But basically, it all started for me with wanting to do a Road Warrior Halloween costume. And so I'm researching doing a costume online. And then I found Carl, who already had like a costume guide on his website, madmaxcostumes.com. and I don't know if I was already a member of MadMaxMovies.com or not, but this is kind of in the pre-Facebook days, and we connected there, and I found out he only lived about 20 minutes away from me and had this collection of stuff, and he was very generous and said, "Hey, come look at some of my stuff if you're putting together a costume." So I went over there and we started hanging out, and I started putting just a shitty Halloween costume together in a short amount of time. And he donated me a pair of Ford F-150 tailgate hinges from a truck, which he had just had sitting around, and that was what he used to make Max's leg brace from Mad Max 2.
Well, as you do.
So that was kind of like, I met this guy and he gave me a pair of tailgate hinges, and that's started.
As you do.
And so then got involved in doing various Mad Max type projects, and me and Carl and this other guy named Jim Howard, we all Wasteland Weekend together, and then Adam Chilson was there the first year as well. Funny story about how I met Adam Chilson. We were starting to hike Wasteland, and it hadn't yet, and I get a call from this, and he's showing, and he's like, "Want photos for you?" I think something like that for this out, and photography was a music photographer. And I said, "Sure," and he wasn't going to charge me any money. So together the day, and so at that point we had a model we were going to use, and I was going to wear my Mad Max outfit, but I didn't want to be a model, so I put a gas mask on. And we took some photos to promote this event, because of course the event hadn't happened yet. And the hardest thing when you're trying to create a new event, the hardest thing to do is to try to tell people what it's going to be. You're promising a lot, and you don't have any photos to show. You've never had the event. You don't have a highlight video. People just need to trust you. And so we thought, well, let's at least come up with some cool images that are not just things we downloaded off the internet. So I show up, I find out Adam lived about an hour and a half from me. So I go to meet Adam with this model, and we do a photo shoot, and the photo shoot's about to end. I've never met this guy before, but we're taking some cool photos. It's working out. And the model and I, who I've lost touch with, but she was great. She was an actress who went on to the Broadway show or something. But at that point, she and I both had separate plans for the evening that we needed to get back for. And the sun was starting to set, and we were about to tell Adam, "Hey, we're going to get going. We need to go." And he had a pickup truck, and he pulled back the canvas on the back of the pickup truck and said, "Are you sure you guys want to go yet? Because it's getting dark and we can do this." And he had all of these flamethrowers. It's we both looked at each other, and we both got on the phone and said, those plans, those are canceled. I'm going to be doing something else. And so basically the first day I met Adam, I was wearing, within a few hours, I was wearing leather pants with no shirt on, flamethrower at a wall.
Living the dream. Living the dream.
And so that was before Wasteland Weekend even started. We had our first Wasteland, and I remember standing there wondering if it was even going to show up. And the great moment when all the kind of car headlights were coming down through the desert location. This thing. And then so by the second year, Adam was fully on board as one of the heads with me and Carl. And then Carl left in 2015. So there's there's the story.
Well, how did you end up at H as the first one?
Oh yes. Originally, we had this great location picked out. It had already been used as a location for a lot of movies, and it was this beautiful dry lake with mountains. I mean, just beautiful. And that was, there had been another event called JARED Weekend the year before. And we were going to use the same. And we were only, I want to say, we were a month out of the event when we got the news that there had been an off-road race had happened there, which they do sometimes, and a bunch of people had been killed because one of the cars went off into the crowd. And these new regulations came in, and they were going to be very restricted what they would allow out on this property, and for multiple reasons, it just wasn't going to work for us. And I think Carl drove around California, and it's in his history document. I don't remember, but someone tipped him off, or he found California City or something. And so a few weeks before the event, we went out there to H Park. It was weird because it looks like all empty desert out there, but most of it is private property. So you can't just go and have a festival, even though it looks empty. But this H Park it's technically a city park, even though it's just a big
open.
You can't see where, but it was zoned that way. You know, they had mapped out this whole city, and it was still zoned as a city park. It was public property, and you know, it was 20, 30 acres, whatever it was, and they could give us permission to have the event there in this little place called California City. And by the time we got to around 2015, 2016, we had really outgrown that park. And so it looked like we had plenty of room to grow, but the reality is all the property around us was private. And we weren't really allowed to spill out over to it. And that's when we started looking for our own piece of property to buy. And that's what we did in 2017. And now we own this piece of property called Wasteland Valley, which is huge and amazing. And we're able to hopefully have events there into the foreseeable future.
How many
it has grown over the years. You know, since we were there, you could see grow. Like last year, you needed a car to drive around because you got blisters on your feet walking it. You couldn't.
Yeah, it's crazy how much it's grown. Yeah, and we own enough property out there that we can keep growing if we want to.
Perfect.
How many acres have you got there, roughly?
That's a classified secret.
Okay, sorry.
I'll just say it's quite large. Talking about the property. And one of the reasons we don't get too specific is it's when some of the locals or people who haven't bought a ticket or whatever, we like the idea that by the time they even get close to Wasteland, they're already on private property.
Right.
So that gives us an advantage for people that,
to stop them.
And that way that and we have local sheriffs on site and everything, and they're able to go over and say, look, sorry, but you're on private property. You're going to need to go much farther away.
Those guys are so cool. I mean, I've got some photos of them with the band over the years.
I've got
It's brilliant. They are just so cool.
Yeah, the bottle top of them.
Great. You must have a great relationship with them.
Yeah, we do. We've been very fortunate with both the local law enforcement and local fire department. They all love the event. They've been really good to us.
That's Marin County.
What's that?
Is it Marin County? Is it?
No, it's Kern County.
Right, Kern County. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah. And they so when we moved to the new property, we were only a few miles away, but technically we were changing from California City to Kern County. It's a semantic thing, but basically California City is in the county, but this is unincorporated county land, which is not part of the city. So it's the sheriffs versus the cops. But anyway, the sheriffs came in and they were going to work with us for the first time and they got all excited about this idea that people give away bottle caps because some of the law enforcement guys are always looking for something they can hand out to people that's friendly and have a friendly interaction. And so the guy came to the head of the sheriff said, hey, could we make our own bottle caps for Wasteland? Would that be cool? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. and it was so popular that first year, and they ran out of bottle caps very quickly.
Yeah, I got one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so the way they've embraced everything and the way the fire department has, and they do their job and they keep us safe, but they still enjoy the event, and they're used to us now, and they know what kind of crazy stuff goes on out there, and they really give us a lot of room to breathe, and great.
Yeah. No,
just a question came through from Rodent. Have you buried a time capsule on your property?
We have not. We've thought about that, and it's a really good idea, and we should do it. But we'll have to be very secretive if we do it, because otherwise everybody's going to try to dig it up.
Exactly. But so initially, when we first started chatting many years ago, and I said, "Oh, we've got to come over." And, we've seen all these pictures of Wasteland Weekend, and I think that the first year before we actually made it, I texted you and I said we're playing in Berlin the day before, and I think you thought it was a club in LA or something like that. It's like, hey, you're just it's 2 hours up the road. It's like, no, we're in Berlin, the Berlin. But it's absolutely stunning. The first year we went, we've been there since I think 2016 was our first one. Just absolutely for people who've never been. Every time people see us, they go, "Yay, V2A," and then they always ask us about Wasteland Weekend. Everywhere we are in the world, people just ask us about Wasteland Weekend. And how do you sum that up? You go over there, and it is like the maddest, most epic festival on the planet. It's hot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, we may not be the largest festival, you know. Like I look at these videos of like the Wacken festival in Germany, and it's just incredible. You know, 70,000 people out there listening to heavy metal music, and it sounds great. But what we do offer, you know, we're only about a little over 4,000 people now. But what we offer is a very immersive, you know, to use the word that's so popular now, but we've been using it for 10 years. We offer a very immersive experience. We want people to escape their normal lives for the 5 days that they're there and feel like they're living in a movie. And we work very hard to create that illusion and to create cool things for people to see and to create an environment where so many of the people that come out create their own things and add to this world. It's really like a crowdsourced kind of open source festival in a way, but with rules, you know. I mean, Burning Man did it so well and did it for a long time, but the whole idea of Burning Man is complete free expression, which we think has its place. It's great for what they do. For us, we love the idea of here are the walls, you know, here's the roadmap, and anything within there, you know, go crazy. And what it creates is this one world that we can all be in together.
It's literally a sandbox.
We had last week we had Greg on, you know, the fight coordinator for Mad Max. And he was at Wasteland, and he said how close and screen accurate the scenes were, and how amazed he was by it. And he wants to return as well. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the best compliment we ever got was there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about Wasteland Weekend, and they interviewed George Miller as part of it. Asked him what he thought of and he's very aware of everything that we do, and we, you know, I keep in touch with his office, and every year I try to send them a little video or some photos. And he said that he saw some photos from Wasteland Weekend, and at first he thought he was looking at photos from one of his movies, and that was wonderful. That's the best compliment.
I mean, when we go out, and when you go out on the car races, it's like you are in the movie. You know, on the Saturday, that's my highlight. You know, going on the back of the Warspawn and going out in the desert.
Absolutely. I mean, especially now with the new property where we have a big open space, a big flat open space where we can have, you know, 50 or more vehicles rolling through the desert together. I mean, you can't get that feeling anywhere else. And you hear the actors who were in Mad Max Fury Road talk about that moment when the whole Armada, the desert, and how incredible it was. Other than those actors, only people from Wasteland Weekend, I think, can know that feeling. Because and there's no civilization in sight for 360 degrees. Even though you're only about over 2 hours from Los Angeles and about 20 minutes from the small town, you feel like you're in another world, which is what's really important about it.
Yeah, once you get in the area, that's it. You just, as you say, it's an overused word, immersive, but it's true. Yeah. I'm amazed at how much effort people put in. It's incredible. It really is. Yeah. They must spend lots of money.
I think people in Wasteland, what I've found from Wastelanders is they're there for the week, but they spend the rest of the year talking about Wasteland Weekend or building stuff for the next year. It takes over your life.
It does. Absolutely. It's become part of our life, you know.
Yeah, and I'm blown away at the things that people create every year, and I wish I had more time to go around and look at it and photograph it. And we have such a community now of, it's more than just our event. You know, we not only do we have our event, and then, you know, and we'll have Neotropolis now, and we've had car shows, and we have the Wastelanders Ball, and we have these other things, but there are also all of these small informal get-togethers throughout the year, and then these other small regional meetups that have come together, and smaller events where people can do this stuff more often. You know, it's like they've spent so much time working on their costumes and their cars and their campsites. They want to do it for more than one weekend a year, and it's great.
I like how you sort of hear sometimes of people who they meet up on the way across the coast, and they'll meet up, and you can just almost see a convoy happening, and it's just that feeling of family is immense, and it's there. It's
It's there.
it's a long drive, but I'm almost jealous sometimes of these people that get to drive this cool wasteland vehicle all the way across the United States and meet up with other wastelanders along the way and form a convoy. It's very Road Warrior in a way, and I think it's really cool.
And I think also a massive thanks to you and the guys for putting such an amazing festival on, because even the atmosphere. So the first thing you meet anybody, everybody goes, "Are you okay? Have you been drinking water? Do you want something to eat?" It's like a big family. It's not like any festival I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah,
it's a very close community.
It's perfect for you guys because Wasteland is so much more friendly than you expect a festival like that to be. And you guys, whether you know it or not, your reputation is that you are one of the only EBM bands that isn't a bunch of dicks.
That's going to be a T-shirt. That'll be Jared says.
That's going on the album.
Here, everyone, compliment.
You're one of the most friendly, most professional, most down to earth bands in that genre that exists.
Thank you so much.
So cheers.
Cheers! I drink on that one.
Thank you. Wasteland Weekend literally is our home. We go out drinking with the War Boys. We have Zoom parties. All our UK and European crowd. Everybody wants to make it there next year. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a video together of like a European's guide to get to Wasteland Weekend. So everything that you need to know if you're a European. Good flights to take. What to do when you're in LA, how to get there, things you definitely need.
That's great. And when you do that, please post it in our Facebook group, which is called Across the Salt, which is one we put together specifically for overseas wastelanders to share tips about travel and all of that. Brilliant. It's not as well attended as some of our other groups, but there's some good stuff in there, and there's some very helpful people. So I'm sure that video would be perfect for that. And we'll put it on Wastelander Central as well. But that's great.
Oh, brilliant. And also every year we always have a bit of a tradition with V2A of trying to get sort of the most people on stage or get like virtually every...
No, that's not us. That is your trial. This is your goal, isn't it? Just to get the records straight.
I'm very proud. So we started off initially with the War Boys, and then we've got Tanks always comes on and the Dogs of War, and now we've got the Wasteland Gladiators joining us as well. And your good self. And we had Elvis on last year.
And your good self. And we had Elvis.
And a topless Russian lady.
And a nearly naked Russian lady, that's it.
Yeah, we never thought we would have to put a limit as to how many people can be on that stage.
Oh no, we're not listening. No. Static.
It's breaking up. It's breaking up.
Sounds like confidential information to me.
Look, it is a trailer that is meant to carry 40,000 pounds or something. So we should be fine, but at some point we may have to do some math here and just double check.
I think so.
You too, Kevin.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But a big thanks to Mechanise last year. So we'd been planning for a year to bring out the snow cannons because we were determined for the 10-year anniversary to be the band to bring out snow cannons and bring that to the desert. I hope you enjoyed that. Everybody else seemed to.
I did. When you brought the idea up to me, I was a little skeptical because I thought it was going to be. Well, I just thought, you know what? It's a big stage. It's a big crowd. It gets very windy out there. And I thought it was going to be kind of like this. Me. What's that?
And I said, there is me. I'm not doing little.
and so I thought, and I'd seen some kind of snow cannon type things before. And I thought it was going to shoot out some small soap bubbles, maybe, 20 feet or something. And it would just look kind of lackluster. But what you guys brought was so big, and it looked when that snow hit the lights. The videos are great, but it doesn't do it justice. It looked so beautiful out there. I mean, the sheer amount of this stuff just hitting the crowd, it was just incredible. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was like it nearly caused me. Nearly caused me a heart attack because it didn't get there till 6 o'clock at the night. But that's like, let's park that. But I liked, I had like text messages after from people who never in their life seen snow. So they were so blown away, and they sent me thank you messages, and it's like, that made it all worthwhile. All these happy faces. That's what we wanted to achieve, like this moment.
So because of that, we're already planning for next year now. We've got to plan something even bigger.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it was a great thing to have for our 10th anniversary, and I loved it.
Thank you so much for having us on. And it's, as I said, you are an absolute gent, and the festival is our second home. Even on my armour on stage, if you ever look at any V2A picture on stage, I've always got my Wasteland patch stuck on the front of my armour on stage. So very, very proud. What we're going to do now, we've got a part of the show before we carry on with the interview called Celebrity Thunderdome.
Yeah.
So what we have two fictional characters who we're going to have in our Celebrity Thunderdome. And the way this works is, Jared, you will have one of them, and you have 30 seconds to explain or convince the audience why they should vote for yours. And Skelly, you have 30 seconds to convince the audience to vote for yours instead. Okay? And what I've done is I've actually, I'm not sure if you can see this yet. Let me just move this over. I found this really good cosplayer from America. So I've used two of his pictures, okay? So we've got somebody who looks remarkably like Jared as Judge Dredd. So, Jared, you will be having Judge Dredd.
Wait, where would I find this?
Stream. On the
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
YouTube
it'll come there in a minute.
There we go.
So Jared, you have Judge Dredd. Skelly, you are going to have
appropriate.
The arch nemesis of Superman, Zod. I'm not sure who this cosplayer is, but he's very convincing. He's really, really good, actually. we've got some more funny stuff.
Right, I'm starting to figure out. I haven't seen these pictures yet, but I'm starting to get an idea of what's going on
around, stuff with you, sir. So wait till we get to the questions. So, okay, Jared, you have 30 seconds to convince the audience why Judge Dredd would win the Celebrity Thunderdome against Zod.
Wow. All right, that's a tough one because Zod, as a Kandorian, as a Kryptonian, has a lot of superpowers. But here's this Celebrity Thunderdome doesn't necessarily have to take place on planet Earth. And if it takes place anywhere else, Zod's powers are neutralized. That would be the first thing. And then it's an easy win for Dredd. But let's say it takes place on Earth anyway. Judge Dredd's just an ordinary man with an iron will. Well, he's a clone. He's not an ordinary man, but he's human. He doesn't have superpowers necessarily, but he's tough as nails, and he's taken on everything from a Tyrannosaurus Rex to his own mutated brother, to robot warriors, to supernatural villains like Judge Death. He kicked Batman's ass once. So I think that he would find a way, at whatever it costs, find a clever way to take on General Zod, even if it's on Earth. It's just, he's been around since the late 70s. He ages in real time, so I guess if it's Dredd now versus Zod now, well, maybe Zod doesn't age though. This is a tricky one.
It's just 30 seconds, yeah. Quick fire.
Final thought is that we know that the lawgiver gun can have multiple rounds. I suspect that somebody from the tech judges would find some sort of kryptonite or faux kryptonite round for that lawgiver. That in combination with a high X round, and I say Dredd comes out on top.
Round of applause, everybody.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
On the nose.
Yeah, on the nose.
30 seconds on the nose. Okay, Skelly, you have 30 seconds to fight back with General Zod.
Well, the fight takes place on Earth, so that's Earth's yellow sun, meaning no powers are neutralized. There's no weapons in the Thunderdome except for the sanctioned one, so General Zod's invulnerable, and he crushes Dredd's helmet, and it's a bit messy. Then he goes off and does General Zod things.
Okay.
There we go.
Precise. So in 30 seconds as well.
You get bonus points for being inside 30 seconds.
That's it, yeah, bonus.
I think he'd get some bonus points for actually thinking the way that General Zod would win. I'm sure he'd think of something, but I'm not going to think of it and explain it.
Okay, guys, it's up to the audience, so you have to the end of the show, guys, to vote for either Dredd or Zod. Who's going to win? And I think Dredd is looking in a good position at the moment, but it was well fought back from Zod. So back onto Judge Dredd and Zod, Jared. So how did you get into cosplay?
Well, it actually started around the same time as I got into the Wasteland stuff. I'd always been a fan of dressing up with costumes and Halloween and all that, but the cosplay hobby hadn't really kicked off when I was a kid. So it started. It started around 2007.
Yep.
That was kind of changed for me from dressing up in costumes for Halloween or for some sort of, as you would call it, fancy dress. And then I think my Road Warrior costume was one of my first real serious cosplays I tried to do. So it started around then, and it was just a lot of fun. It was something I'd always enjoyed, and I found that I was the type of person that liked to recreate things in great detail.
Yeah.
I loved just being a costume nerd and sitting online and trying to research what thing was the most screen accurate. I was one of those guys. And then when I first did Wasteland, my first Wasteland stuff was very screen accurate Mad Max 1 MFP costume, very screen accurate Mad Max 2 Road Warrior costume. But what was great about Wasteland is we really started as a purely Mad Max event, but we were always encouraging things in the post-apocalyptic theme, but not directly from the films. We always felt like that was appropriate, and it gave me the opportunity to do something more creative, to create my own. And honestly, these days, when you go to Wasteland Weekend, there's very little screen accurate movie cosplay there, and it's great, and people do it really well. But most of what you see there is people saying, you know what, I've done that, or I'm not as interested in that, I want to do my own thing. And so the amount of creativity and people doing their own costumes has really exploded. And I feel like we're almost to the point now, or maybe we're past the point, where we kind of have a Wasteland look, that is inspired by a lot of things. It's inspired mostly by Mad Max, but is also a bit of Fallout, and now Wastelanders are inspiring other Wastelanders. So there are costume trends that have started just within our community, and are now, kind of getting out there in the world.
Well, there's such a creative bunch that it's not really surprising, is it? It's like a touchstone, but it's gone way beyond that now. It just moves on.
And I think a lot of because we've played sort of Luna Negra, which was awesome in Spain. We've done Junktown.
Yeah, I love.
We've done Old Town. We've done Road to Ruin, etc. We've tried to get around everywhere. And you can see people have gone online and actually looked at Wasteland Weekend and actually tried to sort of emulate some of the costumes, etc., and some of the looks.
Sure. All of it feeds on itself. I mean, I remember, in the early days of Wasteland Weekend, we were looking at, obviously, the Mad Max films, and we were finding photos of things people had done in other parts of the world and taking inspiration from that. So it all just kind of, it just all feeds on itself and gets everybody better and better. And the quality that's out there now at all of these festivals, and especially ours, is just amazing. I mean, things that are better than you see in some films, and things that you just wouldn't have seen in this kind of quantity. Like you could wear an outfit now to Wasteland that 5-6 years ago everybody would have crowded around you and been amazed by. And now you're one of hundreds of people with that quality of outfit, which isn't a bad thing. It just whole experience for everyone.
It's evolving,
and I think it's
So thinking about all the.
Sorry,
Jared.
I was just gonna.
It's hanging.
It's just gonna say one quick thing, which is I don't want people to feel intimidated. You can still go to Wasteland in a very basic outfit and have a great time. And you don't have to win the costume contest to go out and enjoy it. And once you get there, ideas for what maybe you want to do in the future. That we hear from too many people that feel like, oh, I don't want to go yet until my costume is great or until I have a really cool car. And they wait like 3 years to come out to Wasteland, and they're missing the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing is, it is not elitist. That's the nice thing about Wasteland. It's level. Yeah. That's the beauty of it, I think. And people are so friendly.
Yeah, and that's the way we want it to be. And so we hope it stays that way as much as possible.
And also even down to our gigs as well. So like in the UK across Europe where we've got the cult of V2A. So we haven't got a fan club, we've actually got a cult. We thought that was highly entertaining. But with the gigs, over the last few years, we've had a few people in post-apocalyptic gear, whereas nowadays, if you come to one of our gigs, it's full on. you could be in the middle of Wasteland Weekend. It's everybody's. We got flamethrowers and foam cannons, and everybody's gear's awesome. Everybody's building some amazing stuff. So that's why I think there's going to be a lot of people from Europe over there next year. I mean, a lot. We'll have to.
I hope so. Yeah, you know, I was disappointed. No, go. Sorry.
You go.
I was.
I'm just looking at the chat because I received a little present from America. Can you see? Beautiful. It's like a mic stand. Yeah. So it's from Mike, Stefan, and Doug. So thank you so much. Obviously, it has to be now on my channel because I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. That's why I asked mine.
Is it plugged in?
Not yet.
Not yet,
so
no.
Just a quick question then, Jared, as well, with the cars, because the cars at Wasteland Weekend are just ridiculously good. When did that initially start? Yeah. You know, from the first one, how did?
Well, that longer. I mean, when we think back to our first couple of Wastelands, very few people had cars at all. You know, we had a couple of really cool replica Mad Max cars, our own thing, but you know, it's one of those things that you can put a costume together in a few days or in a month or so, but putting a really great car together takes time. And we really didn't get the cars like we have now for a few years because it took time for people to start building them. And it's a big investment in money and time sometimes, although some people are great at doing it on a very low budget. But the car thing was kind of destination dependent. And what I mean is for people to not only invest the time and money in a car, but if they're in a part of the country where it snows or whatever, they're taking up a precious garage space with this car. It's a big commitment. And if you want it to be street legal, that's even more of a commitment because you have to register with the Department of Motor Vehicles and all these things. And so it took a long time until Wasteland really became a destination. And people that had always wanted to build a car like that never would before because what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Do you drive it around your little suburban neighborhood and people don't understand it, don't appreciate it. But once they had a place that they could bring and it would be appreciated and celebrated and be part of a group of even more cars, I think that was what really started it. So we have these people that started all over the country building these cars that in their heart they had always wanted to make, but they thought there was no place for it.
Yeah. Because how many...
Could I ask a question now?
Yep.
Quickly, because we move away from cosplay kind of thing, because Tim has sent a question in. So he said, give us some story about the shirtless Flash Gordon.
About the what with Flash Gordon?
The shirtless Flash Gordon.
The shirtless Flash.
Tank brought that question up.
Tank.
Oh, that's a question.
Oh, Tank. Oh, I know what he's talking about. Shit.
Nice one, Tank.
It gets worse. Don't worry.
I don't believe this photo exists on. But my favorite convention to go to outside of Wasteland Weekend is Atlanta, Georgia. It's a wonderful convention. It is the best cosplay convention in the world. It's the best nerd party in the world, I think. I call it the Super Bowl of cosplay. Anyway, Tank and I started going there together and being roommates years ago. And I did this like vintage Flash Gordon costume, which trivia, if you watch the movie Tomorrowland, the Disney film Tomorrowland, my costume appears in the movie because Disney bought it from me to put on display. There's a scene that happens in a comic book shop, and they wanted some things on display, and they found my costume and just sent an email and said, "Hey, can we buy this for the movie?" And I was done wearing it, so I said, "Sure." Anyway, So I'm wearing this kind of Buster Crab vintage Flash Gordon influence costume. And then Tank and I got very drunk.
Oh, dear.
And Tank was with. So we went down onto the floor where everybody was partying and drinking, the hotel lobby at the Marriott. And Tank was wearing just his leather shorts from his Lord Humongous costume and a cowboy hat for some reason. I, being impressionable, decided... So I had it was like this leather thing that goes over the top of the vintage Flash Gordon costume. and I believe the leather pants, and that was it.
That was it.
And there's a little being very ridiculous. Yeah. So
that sounds like an amazing photo. If anybody's ever got one of them.
And an amazing night, actually.
I've got.
it was
Thanks.
quite nice. I don't remember too much after that.
Yeah, thank you, Tank, for that one. Also, another one from Tank. He's asked me about this before.
Okay.
Have you ever?
Now,
Have you ever worn maybe like a Judge Dredd helmet from the film, or anything like that? Is there a
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was worried it would be more embarrassing than that. So came back at me for embarrassing him when he was on your show. But no, the first, I think it was the first or second Dragon Con I went to, we were very fortunate that I was already a huge, so this must have been 2013 because Dredd 2012 had come out, which is one of my favorite films.
Great.
And the guy who created the hero Dredd costume for that film, Rob Alsop, the designer, was there at Dragon Con and brought one of the hero costumes with him. And so right before he was going to do a panel where he talked about creating the costume and all that, and he needed a place to store the costume that was close to the panel. So he stored the costume in our hotel room, which was amazing. And then right before the panel was starting, he said, I could sort of lay this costume up, but it'd be better if somebody wore it. He said, would you mind just putting it on? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you could twist my arm into putting on the hero, Dredd costume that costs like $20,000. Sure, I'll throw that up.
One of a kind.
Panels.
Yeah.
I got to be the model and took some photos with it, and yeah, it was amazing.
Oh wow!
How did you?
I'm a couple inches shorter than Carl Urban, but it still fit I was amazed how well it fit. It just was a little bit long in the legs and the arms.
How was the helmet?
Oh, wow.
Because Carl Urban's got quite a small head, hasn't he? I think his helmet's quite small.
It wasn't too bad. I mean, his I'm trying to remember. I know the cost. I think the helmet was one of the hero helmets that was made in the UK. But the helmet fitting okay, actually. My head is actually large for the size of my body, but he's bigger than me, so maybe I met in the middle and had similar size heads. I don't know.
Is there any kind of cosplay that you're working on or would love to do in the future?
Wait a minute. I take it back. That I remember, if I remember right, I think it was too small for me, and I think I ended up wearing my own helmet.
He has got a really small head,
that,
actually. Really, really small head.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, because he's kind of a big dude.
So the next question was, what cosplay character have you you want to do in the future? Have you not done that you're aspiring to do?
I have a long list that gets longer all the time. I've always wanted to do one of my dream costumes is to do a still suit from David Lynch's Dune, or one of the third stage navigators from David Lynch's Dune. That coincidentally, I love your microphone. There's sort of a vintage style microphone that's similar to the microphone that you use the third stage navigators. So those are on my list, and then I come up with new ones every year, and then I get roped into group cosplays sometimes, where someone just wants to do a group, and it's not something that I'd ever thought about doing, but if it's going to be with a group of people and I can have some fun, I'll throw in that as well. I'm working on, I might do Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. I still have more.
That's so,
I still have more iterations of Han Solo that I want to do, because for whatever reason, I want to cosplay everything that Harrison Ford's ever done. So maybe there's a regarding costume in my future. I don't know.
Well, Marty asks if you have ever met Sam Jones.
No, I've never met Sam Jones. A bunch of my friends have met him. If you look, there's a great cosplay photo. There was a cosplay group of Flash Gordon costumers from a few years ago at Dragon Con that got their photo taken with Sam Jones, and they were incredible, and they all just nailed it. But no, I've never met him. Seems like a cool guy, though.
What about Adam Savage from Mythbusters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we did an episode of his show called Savage Builds. I don't know if it's available online without paying, but you should look for it. So we did Savage Builds, and I'm trying to remember the episode escapes me, but they came out of Wasteland property, and they built some cars, whole demolition of cars they had built in like Max style, and we had a bunch of our Wasteland cars there, and it was great. We did a whole day of shooting, and he came around with cars and was very friendly. And I had met him. I actually met him before we had we trooped as Judge Dredd together when he was at San Diego Comic-Con. He did a Judge Dredd costume with us. But yeah, that was great. And if you look for the video of Savage Builds when he did the Wasteland Challenge, that was great. Really fun to do.
Because also Adam's very well known to being very particular about his cosplays as well. Like yourself, you're very detailed. He gets them spot on. Yeah,
and I love that about him. He's great about that. And I love doing all the costume stuff and everything. And I just love seeing what other people do. I love their attention to detail, and it's great. It's one of my favorite hobbies for sure.
So when did your post-apocalyptic car? When did you get the idea for that? Because that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So thank you so much. So that you're talking about the Valkyrie, which is a bare metal 39 Dodge. I went and saw. I was very fortunate to go see Fury Road a year before it opened. So I saw Fury Road in May of 2014. And by the time I had never thought I was going to do a Wasteland car. It was something I didn't feel like I had the skills for. I didn't have the time for. I didn't have a place to store it. Other people had done them, but we were 4 years into Wasteland Weekend, and I just probably didn't think I was going to do it. I thought maybe I'll do a little scooter or ATV or something. And I saw Fury Road, and I was like, oh my God, I have to have a Fury Road style car. So my goal was to get the car. I somehow thought I was going to get the car done before Fury Road premiered. Right. It didn't happen. It took me months to find. I wanted what we call a pre-war car body, right? So pre-World War II, because there's a very different look that they have, and there's a lot of cool pre-war cars in Fury Road as well as others. And I just love that rounded body style and everything.
Yeah, much curve.
It took about 6 months or 8 months to find the car body that I wanted. That wasn't going to cost an arm and a leg. Ended up finding it within a few miles of Adam Chilson's house. Some guy had it in his backyard in the desert. Got the car, and then of course to make it look very Fury Road, you take the old car body and then you put it on a big 4x4 frame.
Yep.
And so that I had to find a second car that was in my price range. Long story short, it took years. And part of that was because I just never had time to work on it. And I needed help because I'm not a mechanic. And so I needed help from people like Adam and this guy Skip. And then Wes helped me and it was a real group effort, a bunch of my friends. And it's still not complete. I still haven't completed the interior, but I'm proud of the fact that it runs, and it's or usually runs, and it's I wanted to make a car that really felt like it was from Fury Road without being an exact replica. And I'm really glad that people seem to feel like it fits that Fury Road look.
It's mind-blowing.
Thank you. I've since started a couple of other car projects, so
you haven't finished this one though, man.
Oh, I know. Well, that's how it is, Even when you haven't finished a or something, you're always thinking about the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
so 10 years of Wasteland. So there must be like a moment which is like your top moment of history. There must be something. There must be one where you think like, oh my, it was my worst nightmare.
Honestly, there's so many. It's hard to pick. There's so many terrible moments. But most of those, luckily, were behind the scenes that no one saw. And there's so many great moments. It's hard. I think about the very first moment when we saw people actually arriving at Wasteland 2010. That was a big moment. I think about the moment when we had our first, I want to say it was around 2015. Or 2016, when we were at our last years at H Park, where it really felt like you were inside a movie. I think around the first year that you guys got there was when it first became the vision that we had for the event, where it would feel like this isn't just a festival. It really feels like a living, breathing movie, especially at night. It took a long time to get things lit up, right? So people build their camps, but they didn't do a lot of lighting after dark. And so by the time we got to there, though, there was a moment where I stood there and I looked at the main sage and I looked over at the bonfire at the pit and I looked at the Atomic Cafe and I looked at the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome came later, but whatever. I looked around.
Thunderdome was there.
Yeah. And I looked around, and it just felt so alive, and like this world that I couldn't possibly have created on my own. And it didn't even feel like I had any part in creating, but I was still so proud of it. And that was a rush. And then I would say beyond that, there was some great moments in 2018 when Adam and I lit the Wasteland sign.
Yeah.
The flamethrowers.
The flamethrower, yeah. So the way that came about actually was one of those moments where it was kind of a very sad moment turned into a good moment. We had Nathan Jones there.
Yeah.
And Nathan Jones was supposed to be the one who was going to light the sign with the flamethrower, which would have been incredible. But he woke up very sick that morning and wasn't able to return to the event. We're like, So we were going to have this whole thing where Nathan Jones was going to light the sign. What do we do now? And we thought about it for a few hours and weren't sure what to do. And then finally, Adam and I said, well, we'll just do it ourselves. And we thought it was going to be kind of lame and whatever, but we needed to do something. But instead, it was this great moment where, you know, I don't always, first of all, we're hardly ever together in person because we're so busy running the event that the two of us are rarely in the same place.
Yeah.
And so it was the two of us on the back of this. It was Adam's truck, and Adam had the flamethrower, and we rolled up and we lit the sign, and then we kind of turned back, and the two of us are in the truck and just kind of gave the salute, and we got to see hundreds of people just in a semicircle, kind of pull away on the truck.
Yeah.
It was just the most amazing feeling.
I can feel that now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it felt like, you know, we felt like rock stars for a second, which I normally want to do at Wasteland because I want to put this on everyone else. But for a brief moment there, yeah, it was really great. And to be able to have that with Adam, who had worked so hard with me over the years to make all that happen, that was great. So, and it was, you know, the similar thing happened that morning. We had planned to do a special gate opening ceremony with Nathan, but when he was sick and couldn't make it, we were like, well, what are we going to do? You know, we had a whole thing that we had kind of mapped out, and maybe we'll do it another year, so I won't talk about it. But instead, we said, well, what if we just thank all of the volunteers from various departments and have them walk through the gate? And it was a last minute decision, but it was one of those things where, like, why haven't we been doing this every year? You know, we always want our volunteers to be appreciated, but to have them be able to get the response from the crowd, the first to walk through the gates in the morning, it just felt very appropriate.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely awesome. I must admit, with the first year when we were there, when we were dancing, it was, I don't know, 3 in the morning. We were dancing on the top of the D's in the middle of the desert. With a load of war boys. How do you explain this to somebody? How? You know, it's the
star. I forget this moment when we were dancing. I looked up, and you'll just have this monster sky full of stars, and you're dancing, and it was just like, wow. Yeah. You know, that's a moment for me. You know, my first Wasteland, looking up, and I was like, let's take it. That's what won my heart. It's like, yeah,
that's wonderful. I mean, one of the great things about being out in the desert, for people that, you know, live most of their time in the city, you don't get to see the stars the way they should be seen. And, you know, when we're out in the desert and there's very little light pollution, and you can see the stars and the Milky Way, and especially if the moon isn't out, and it's so great. I you know, in some ways, like being in a Mad Max movie, but in many ways it's better. Because you're on the set of a film. Yes, it's great, and there's all this amazing stuff happening, but you're also looking at a crew all in street clothes, and you're looking at cameras, microphones, and all of that. And after 10 minutes, they call cut. At Wasteland, nobody calls cut.
Exactly.
You know, and even the camera crew, they're wearing Wasteland gear. So it's even more immersive than being in a movie, I think.
So we mentioned D's just then, the sadly the demise D's. Without letting too much out of the bag, can you tell us what's going to be coming in its place? Or because the pit, the first few years was a real focus, not so much maybe the last couple, but
so I'll say a couple of things about that. The D's is amazing, and Paul Miller and the Disciples of the D's, and before that they were called the Pirates of the Arid Seas. Their tribe did such an amazing job rescuing that boat that would have been scrapped, and transforming it into what it became, which was this amazing Wasteland set piece and stage. And we knew before Wasteland 2010 that the D's wasn't going to come back in 2011.
Yeah.
But we, as the event organizers, didn't feel like it was our place to make that announcement because we didn't own it, we didn't build it, we weren't the ones bringing it out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly why they didn't want to tell people, but I suspect it was because they didn't want to deal with everyone, first of all, trying to take souvenirs off of it. And second of all, people trying to say, well, can't we save it? And this is, the truth is, to save it would have required an entire rebuild. The whole superstructure inside was rotted wood. It just wasn't salvageable if there was a way to do it. And people after the fact said, oh, I wish I had known. But anyway, so we knew it was going to happen. And we had planned actually to burn it down on Saturday night.
And the fire thing.
Show. But the winds were so strong, we just couldn't do it. It wasn't safe to do. So that was disappointing. But it was, it was a great part of Wasteland. But part of these kind of things is change and doing new things and being motivated. The pit, on the other hand, is something that was a real focus for the first years of Wasteland. But later, there are so many places now to go and dance and listen.
Thunderdome.
Yeah, Wasted Saints.
There's Thunderdome. There's
Tiki Bar.
There's there's the Mushroom Cloud Lounge. There's the Forlorn Hope Lounge. There's the Den. There's the Wasted Saints. I mean, there's so many places.
Oh, the Wasted Saints.
Zeke's last year. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? That came from nowhere.
Yeah. So there's a lot of competition, basically. And I don't know if we're going to do the pit this year. We may do something completely different. And I don't know. I don't know if there is a plan. I know we're going to keep going with the swimsuit.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
He's there. We have to have that. I mean,
with the contest, you should water everybody. That would be great.
Well, we've done some of that. Water is out there.
Yeah.
But
bring your own.
Yeah, we do have plans for some other really cool things to happen next year. It's not my place to divulge those. No. I don't know that there's going to necessarily be a boat right away like there was. I don't know if some of the smaller boats are going to come out that they have besides the D's. But there will always be amazing new things to see at Wasteland for sure.
Yeah. Well, another part of our show is the Never Have I Ever. And last week, we totally forgot it. So I have to do it this week. Otherwise, I will be told off again. So, well, basically, I give you two options. One is true and one is a lie. And it's for you and the audience. So they have to find out what's true or not. Okay. So never have I ever a monkey for a day or massaged a rhino.
An odd amount of silence there, wasn't there?
You know V2A, Jared, so you know how strange we are.
Yeah. You want me to guess right now?
You can have your guess, but the people online, they have to check.
And then we will announce it at the end of the show.
Give the truth later.
Okay.
So it's either Pampa or massage a rhino.
I know what my guess is going to be, but I'm going to wait and see what others say. I think both of those are plausible, by the way, for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Well, yeah. So one thing, one of the friends of the channel is Emil Minty, the feral kid, and every time we talk to him, the guy is just cool. He is an awesome guy. We're trying to convince him to come out to Wasteland next year as well. Because to have him on stage with his boomerang, well, possibly not with his boomerang, but you know what I mean. What's your
I would treat him as an honored guest.
He is an absolutely lovely guy, and he is a big fan of Wasteland Weekend. How do you feel now that Wasteland Weekend is like a worldwide phenomenon? So it's not just in the States and in LA area; it's known all around the world. It's the pinnacle.
Yeah, I love that. Obviously, I think we've always had people from overseas that have come over and found us, but we get more and more every year. The thing that makes me the most happy about that, the first time it happened, where someone saved up their money and used their vacation to come out to Wasteland and had been looking forward to it. It made me very nervous. There was a lot of pressure on me, someone to spend that amount of effort and money and be disappointed, and really the reaction we've gotten is just fantastic. And people say there's nothing else like the world, and it was worth coming. And that to me is a huge compliment. So, our Japanese community have started doing some Wasteland in Japan, and it was so cool to see that they taken inspiration not just from the Mad Max, from Wasteland Weekend, to where they even had like a swimsuit competition like we have, and it was so great.
Will there be a 2019 FU patch or something like that? Because
you mean
Chevron
patch.
Yeah, you mean
2020?
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
We
I've been drinking cider.
We announced it on Wastelander Central. There's we have created a patch. We were very particular about how we did it because we didn't want it to look like an event patch, because we didn't have an year, but we wanted something so that like a blank, because people really love to those chevrons. And so we two options that'll be available. One says "fuck 2020," says "WW 2020," and they're in gray. They're in gray, so it's almost like kind of like ghost patch. So it looks a little different than in the event patch. Those are going to be available online. We are going to do later this summer. I don't know the exact date yet, but we're going to do a big online merchandise sale to raise money for Wasteland Weekend. It'll be our first ever online merch sale.
Good.
And we're going to have that available. We're going to have a lot of our old. We're going to have new things available. And the way it's going to work, it's all going to be made to order. So we're going to take all the orders in, and then we'll order the merchandise. So it'll take some time for everybody to receive it, but that way everybody gets everything they want. Nothing's going to sell out. We're going to order exactly as many as people have paid for.
Has been ordered.
Yeah, and we have some old merchandise on hand. I have a bunch of all the previous year chevrons will be in stock because I know people love those. So there'll be no waiting. And if you're willing to wait, like 2 months to get it, you'll get your stuff. And like I said, we'll have some special merchandise as well. The only thing is, don't get mad, we're not going to be able to ship to Europe because it's so expensive.
I'm getting mad.
I see the great thing about the Wasteland community is I bet there are a bunch of people in the U.S. willing to buy stuff for you guys, ship it or hold it for you until you come over.
I hope so. Otherwise, I cry because then we're missing out.
I'm sure they will. The reason we have to do it that way is twofold. One is it would be very expensive to ship. It would probably cost as much as it would to buy the product.
Yeah.
And second of all, there's really no way for any amount of money to track a shipment that goes to Europe or anywhere else, basically, other than Canada and Mexico. If you ship from the United States, what I found out is they will only guarantee delivery to the country. Once it goes to that country, unless it's a very expensive DHL FedEx thing that costs an arm and a leg, most of the time they track it to the country and they say, well, we got it to England. That's all we can do. And so, of course, so it's very difficult to, and we can't do it. But like I said, I think a lot of Wastelanders will be able to pick stuff up for their foreign friends.
A lot of Wastelanders are really excited. On search, I finally get all the missing patches. Finally, yay!
Everything that you were missing, and we're gonna tank tops back. We'll have sweatshirts back. All these things we don't always have in stock. We'll have everything.
I must admit, we go fanatical, so that's part of the tradition now of every Wasteland. Is normally on is it the Thursday morning? We get there on the Wednesday. Thursday morning we then queue up and try for the patches because it's gold dust.
Well, if I get an online order, I'm going to have to stand outside my house for 2 hours in the blazing sunshine. And I'll be no, you can't come yet. I'm not ready yet. Unfortunately, it's tradition.
Well, the problem we have is every year I double the amount of chevrons that we order for the patches, among other things. And we still sell them out anyway. But I don't want to. I'm always worried that it'll be that one year where I order so many, and everybody has them, and they're like, "Oh, we're stuck with all this merchandise that we just spent money on in the store." And so we're always we'd rather sell out than have a bunch of stuff we have to bring. And then the other problem is we always have issues with, when we set up our store at the event, I know people have to wait in long lines and wait in the sun, and we feel bad about that. But it's sometimes with delays due to technical issues with the tablets or with the internet. We finally have, at Wasteland this last year, finally have our own satellite dish. So we can have our own local Wi-Fi network. It's a lot. The thing is, it wasn't.
So we can all then log in?
No. Not even you can do that.
So it's just for staff, so that we can actually scan your tickets and sell you merch and get online to do important tickets. But
she was so excited with that. Yeah, I can get on the internet.
I have to tell a funny story because we had to give a live interview with the BBC Radio.
Oh.
And we were
the BBC.
So we had to go out like this, with the phone, and it was video calling. And then I finally got this, we got the reception. So we did this interview, started, and they were just about to go live. And then this guy from the BBC says, "What's happening behind you?" I said, "Like," and I turned around, and I was this naked woman giving her all foaming.
She's having a shower, wasn't she? That was Bill's shower. Yeah.
So the BBC loves Wasteland Weekend.
I bet. That's one of the reasons we encourage people to not live stream from Wasteland Weekend. Because
they called us, we had to, so we had no choice. Radio wanted us.
I understand. There are certain privacy issues that come into play. So the first few years, we didn't have a problem with internet. We kept talking about how great the internet was out there, but it's just the size of the population out there now. We're double the size of the local population, and the local cell tower can't handle it. I think the ultimate long-term solution is we're going to see if we can get a cell company to build a tower, out there on the property.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Just charge a little bit.
Is it possible going forward, now you actually own the land, to actually build permanent places on it?
That's a question we get a lot. It's something we would love to do. I think it's something that people thought we were going to do the very first year. The problem we have is if you don't know that area of the Mojave Desert, you can't leave things out there. They will within days. It would all get scavenged. It would all disappear. People would come out of the desert.
You're back on again, aren't you?
Yeah, it's more like the movie The Hills Have Eyes. Yeah. It's kind of like half mutant, half meth head, half just desert scavenger, and they would take everything.
Oh, right.
If we put up a chain link fence, they would take it. So we can't do permanent structures and a way to make them secure. For example, if we had a 24-hour caretaker that lived out there. Certainly had people volunteer to do that. So one day it may happen. The other thing is you have to think about, let's say we had all of our stuff out there, like a permanent waste, like we had our Wasteland gates out there and the Wasteland sign. It'd be so attractive to tourists maybe people just realize or greedy, and it would be the walls around. We'd have to be there. There are things we're thinking about doing, and that would be a kind of middle ground between a full Wasteland setup and nothing. But it's not something we can do just yet. It gets
totally. Just a quick.
Well, Spud and it just he can come.
Yeah, Spud. Oh, Spud's on. Spud. Awesome. Yeah, I love all the cars he builds. Absolutely awesome. So, going back to your pop-up bar, your Neotropolis pop-up bar, that looked absolutely stunning. Would you be doing that again, sir?
Not the stuff up.
Not anytime soon. Some of the stuff that we create. So for people that don't know, in November of 2019, I created a bar in downtown Los Angeles with the help of a lot of people. And it was only a 1 month, what we call a pop-up bar. It was in some unused space behind another bar. So we were able to operate their liquor license and under their lease and everything. But we created our own cyberpunk future noir bar, and it was a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of cocktails, and I had done some kind of amateur bartending, and I always wanted to own a bar, but I didn't want to do it as a career, so I thought, well, I can pull it off for a month. And right after we really got serious about building it, speaking of the Exxon Valdez, Paul Miller, who worked on was one of the Wastelanders who worked on helping create in the bar, and we had a really good fit, but it was always meant to be temporary. Some of the things we created for that bar will be out at Neotropolis. So when I originally created the bar, we called it Neotropolis Bar. We didn't know at that point we were going to call the event in the spring Neotropolis, but we just liked the name. So it's not really directly connected. We're just using the same name again. And the bar was a solo of mine. If Adam and I are a band, think of it as my solo album. And then Adam wasn't really involved in it. But of course, Neotropolis, the event, is me and Adam, getting the band back together. It was a lot of fun to be in downtown LA and running a bar. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of long hours.
Would you do it again?
I would do it again. I would do it again with someone else's money.
Yeah.
I would also do it again if maybe we didn't have a film license or anything behind it. We were creating our own intellectual property. I would do it again if it was, say, a studio was premiering a movie, and they said, in conjunction with the premiere of this movie, we would love to do a bar for a month. And that's been done before once or twice, so it wouldn't be a new idea. I would love to run that for them. I would love to create that and say, hey, look, I've done that before. Let me do your Dune bar.
Yeah.
If I were to do it again, a Dune bar would be amazing.
Sounds like a pitch.
Yeah, maybe. So I would love to do it with a license behind it and with someone else's money. And yes, I think that way I would do it again. But it's certainly an enormous amount of work, and I respect anyone who works in that industry and puts in those long hours. And
it's easy,
Been there, done that. Did two years in southern Portugal. Bloody hell, that was
so. For the Neotropolis, am I saying that right? Neotropolis. Yeah. Event next year. What is your costume going to be? Because you've definitely thought about it.
Yeah, I've got like 4 different costumes that are about 20% there, and I haven't finished figuring out what I'm going to do yet. I definitely want to do some kind of I like vests, so I'll do some kind of Elysium-inspired cyber kind of vest. I am going to do. I need something where I can just be protected from the sun. So I think I have a black cyber hood kind of thing. And then the other thing I've always wanted to do, I started this thing called Cult of 84 to bring that kind of 1980s new wave music cyberpunk feel to the event. So we're working on that, and I'm putting a costume together that very much like an 80s Duran Duran style jacket and combine it with some cyberpunk LED elements and things, and maybe I have a keytar, and so there's a lot of that brewing on my kind of
big puffies.
MTV influenced future, because there were so many of those 80s music videos that had a either post-apocalyptic or cyber dystopian feel to them. And I thought about originally, I was thinking about this back in 2011. I was going to do something like that for Wasteland. I was going to do a post-apocalyptic inspired, if a group of post-apocalyptic scavengers found 1980s objects and created this new wave warrior vibe, but it didn't quite work on the post-apocalyptic level, but it's going to work perfectly for Neotropolis. So I brought that idea now. I'm working on.
We have to make it.
I might be on a car too.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
might be.
Might be. You are.
Me working on a car with a lot of help, because again, I can't, fix engines or any of that stuff. I'm not a good welder or any of that shit. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of time my friends have to get together and create it. But I do have a very cool car body set aside, and we'll see if it gets done. It wasn't going to get done for this year, but maybe now that it's not till April, maybe it'll get done.
Have you thought of any sort of futuristic sports? Rollerball would be awesome, but that would be a nightmare to try and do.
in the desert.
Yeah.
I love rollerball.
Some sort of combination of rollerball and solar babies. Yeah. And if you don't know what solar babies is, look it up. It's hilarious. That would be really cool. I don't know if that's going to happen. At least the first.
Did you?
Solar babies at Luna Negra. We had a picture of them.
There was a tribe of solar babies at Luna Negra.
Oh yes, we did.
Please send me that.
No scorpions though, but maybe next time.
We are going to do laser tag out there.
Awesome.
I think will be really fun. These really cool laser tag guns that we bought. A combination of, we have maybe a dozen or so or more of this particular brand of laser tag rifle and all the systems for it. And then people are also bringing their own that fit with this, that work with the same system, and it ties into a mobile phone app. We have we haven't released images yet, but we have our group of Sentinels, which are like the elite guard that we have at Wasteland, like the police force, the guards at Neotropolis, not the real security, but just fake security. They're going to be running their security office, but they're also going to be the ones that out the laser to everyone.
Oh my god! Wow, is there going to be bounty hunters as well? It's got to be, hasn't there, in the future? Do you think? Bounty hunters?
Yes, I'm sure there are already a lot of people talking about bounty hunting games out there. The thing about Neotropolis that's going to be a little bit different is it's going to be less spread out. It's going to be small and contained, like that kind of shanty town. Everybody kind of on top of each other, but there's going to spread out as well. But it's the vibe out there. I think we'll go a little bit later into the night, because so much of the stuff there looks so good after dark. So I think we'll all sleep a little bit later and stay up a bit later. It still won't be an all-night desert party, but instead of going till, say, between 1 and 3 in the morning, maybe we go between, 2 and 4 in the morning, just that kind of thing.
Are you going to limit the number of tickets when they come out, when they're available? Or
we are. They are available now. Tickets are on sale if you go to neotropolis.com. Tickets are already on sale for 2021. It is going to be limited, going to be smaller than Wasteland. That's design. It's our first. We want to build it up a little more. And it's also with people that were never at the Wastelands, a little bit of a feel of what it was like. And we are going to give. We haven't finalized the design yet, but there's a special gift that is given for free to everyone who buys the ticket for Neotropolis. It's a special patch that's going to be for Neotropolis or Wasteland Weekend. Get a ticket in 2020 and not wait till 2021. We're going to give it a special commemorative.
Oh, that is awesome!
Awesome. Oh, and that's all available on the website, so they can buy them now.
Yeah, we haven't revealed that. We'll be on the site, and it'll be on our social media as well. God. And everyone who has already bought a ticket, it's retroactive. So everyone who bought a ticket to Neotropolis 2020, like everyone who's buying tickets now, they'll all get.
Oh my god! Wow.
As Martin, now if the vibe of Apocalyptic is Blade Runner.
Yeah, sort of. It's things where that was the weird thing about this, and why it's in some ways a lot more work than the first Wasteland. When we did Wasteland, we were really riffing on a lot of the stuff that George Miller had done with Mad Max. We had a For this, we really are creating our own world and our own thing and our own vibe, and that's why our emphasis is on original costumes for Neotropolis. We want people to kind of do their own thing, but it's influenced by everything from movies to anime to comic books to video games. Where all of that has been in our heads, and especially for guys like me and Adam who grew up in the 80s, like that stuff has all been, and we're kind of just putting that all out there in one kind of thing. And we're still, Adam and I are still behind the scenes. We're still writing like the history of this world and all that kind of, and we're probably going to dole it out little by little. And there's going to be it's still a festival. It's still mostly a place for people to go out and have a good time. But for those who want to explore story outlets and do a little more of the LARPing kind of stuff and a little more of the quests and escape room kind of vibe and the scavenger hunts and challenges, there are going to be some stories that unfold. We're looking at Neotropolis. Each festival is going to be almost like a season of a TV show where we have a story. And each night you're going to get a little piece of this story, and then at the end of the festival, that gets picked
For
up
next
the next
year.
festival.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Wow.
very cool.
Are you going to?
But hopefully we have nothing booked and we can go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah,
We want to use a lot of technology for people to be able to go around and solve little issues and get little pieces of information, either
awesome.
barcodes, using augmented reality technology, and all of that stuff.
God, that sounds amazing. We're gonna have to start an electronic '80s band so we can come and play. V2B.
Or just do V2B.
Well,
just do like a side project album that's like V2A meets Wave kind of thing.
I think we can do that. Yeah.
Which reminds me, we have another section of our show, don't we?
Hold on, we've got Bunker or Bin. So this is
Bin as well.
Yeah,
We're
too busy talking. So what this is Jared, we've hunted the internet and we found 2 of the world's worst toys, which we sent to you earlier on the phone. So if you imagine, it's the end of the world, the apocalypse is happening, you're running towards your nuclear bunker, you see these 2 objects, you only have room for one to take into the bunker. So one you're going to be playing with and looking at for the rest of eternity, and the other one's going to go straight in the bin. So what are your initial thoughts on the fog and a dead Ewok?
So, first of all, I don't think these are the worst toys in the world. I think these are amazing, and I would love to have both.
We will hunt them down. Whichever one you want, we will try and actually get you that. So be aware.
So,
I can see 2 downsides here. First of all, once you open the fog, it disappears, and God, the dead Ewok's going to stink. Can you imagine opening that again? Here, kids.
Jared, initial thoughts there. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a collector, so I would keep both of these things complete in their package. I'm more drawn to the fog figure, partly because when I saw Return of the Jedi as a kid, I hated the Ewoks. I loved everything about that movie, but I thought the Ewoks were too cute, and I didn't like them. However, as I've gotten older and I've mellowed a little bit, I don't hate on the Ewoks as much as I used to. So I don't feel the need to have a dead one. But the idea of a action figure from the fog, I love the idea of a kid. A kid sees John Carpenter's The Fog, gets all excited, begs his mother to buy him the action figure, opens up the package, and just starts crying because it all just disappears. So
yeah.
So you are going to go for the fog. I think that's a wonderful choice. We will actually hunt that down, sir, and send that over to you so you can be deeply disappointed in your own time, in your own home.
Just don't open it.
Feel free to save on postage and give it to me in person.
So, being a collector, I'm also a collector. I collect loads of Judge Dredd stuff. I've got a massive Mad Max and post-apocalyptic collection. So what kind of stuff do you collect?
My collection has gone kind of in waves over the years, where I will fiendishly collect something, and then I get over it and I sell it on eBay and I collect something else, and then I sell it off and I collect something else. So not everything hangs around permanently. I do still have an old comic book collection. I do still have a few things here and there. I do have a few movie props that I'm very kind of happy with. I have one of the screen used guns from Fury Road.
Does George know?
Yeah. And I have to thank I don't think he does. I have to thank our mutual friend, the great Lee Fields, for hooking me up with.
Yeah, definitely. Did you see the interview when we had Mark Sexton on, and he's actually got the actual mask?
Some of it, but did he show the mask?
Yeah.
I gotta watch the whole thing. That's amazing.
He sort of found it. They were at a party, and they took it to this party and everybody was drinking. So of course then Mark was playing with it and had it on. It's actually metal. I thought it was going to be foam, but actually, so he was playing around. Then he took it back to his desk where he was working with Mr. Miller, And at the end of the show, and everything was finished, George said, thanks a lot. See you on the next one. If you just want to grab all your stuff and go. And of course, Mark said, what, do you mean everything on my desk? And George said, yes. So he's actually got the mask. So, unbelievable. What a star. What a star.
Yeah,
Even got
wonderful.
clumps of skin and hair in it and everything. So.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Yeah, I collected props here and there. I don't have a huge collection. But I also, I have pared down my collecting over the years because I tend to go a little overboard with it. And I already have so many bins full of cosplay stuff that it's gotten kind of ridiculous. I have obviously some things from Dread, which I love, and I have in addition to things that are screen used, I have some things that maybe were cast from the original mold, but aren't necessarily the hero, and that's exciting as well. I have a lot of that stuff. One of these days I still don't have a good display for everything, but I need to work on that. And I do, and of course I do have possession of one of the screen used Fury Road cars that we showed off at the Wasteland Car Show.
Wow! Oh my gosh! So absolutely stunning. We saw one of the cars when we were interviewed Vernon Wells in LA. We went to the Peterson Museum, and they had some of the Mad Max cars there.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
I would highly recommend going to that museum. It's
that's a temporary
Nukes' car. Oh my god!
It's a temporary exhibit, so I'm really glad you guys got to see it when you were there. I think it's leaving later this year. It's amazing to see those two cars in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the collection. The Peterson Museum is a world-class automotive museum.
Amazing.
So the temporary collection has a lot of movie cars, but even when that collection isn't there, they have so many great historic automobiles. It's great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you've got any cars, there are so many Ferraris, Cobras. It's just there's no point. You name it, it's probably got a mark or a version.
When I went to the Peterson a couple of years ago, I was there with my father, who had come to town, and I showed him, and we did the extra tour, which takes you down into their basement garage.
Yeah, archive bit.
They have a lot more cars down there, and we actually walked past this old man who was coming out, and we found out that was Mr. Ferrari.
Enzo.
Oh
no way!
It was somebody's son or grandson. He was probably, I want to say he was in his 60s or 70s. He's the current Ferrari, of course, not the original. And he was there to view a very special Ferrari that he had never seen before, that had been gifted to the Ford Motor Company, and it's in their collection. And he flew over from Italy just to see. So it was pretty cool.
I must admit, I was blown away with that place. It was absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Yeah. Also, I'd like to do a big shout out to your brother. Congratulations on his Oscar. Seriously, what a start. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Amazing film.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't be more proud. My older brother, Greg Butler, has been a visual effects supervisor since he was in college. Well, not a supervisor since he was in college, but he's been working on visual effects since he was in college. Yeah. He started when he was still in school. He was lucky enough to get into Industrial Light and Magic and worked on, as an intern, he worked on Jurassic Park. So he was there at really the very beginning of computer graphics at ILM with a lot of the guys that had still been there Star Wars, and was there, and then he got hired out of college and Forrest Gump, and worked on a lot of other movies, and then he moved to New Zealand for 6 years and worked for The Rings. Before that, Starship Troopers, and they worked on
brilliant.
And then London, he moved to London and worked on the Harry Potter films. Got his Oscar nomination for the last Harry Potter movie, and then he moved to Vancouver, and now he lives in Montreal. And he finally won his first Oscar for the movie 1917.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah. Awesome.
And he and I started out as kids making little movies together, so it's really great.
That's an astounding film anyway.
Just blew us away.
Proper tour de force. So,
as you're a very, very busy man, is there anywhere you would like to go on holiday? If somebody said, okay, Jared, you've done awesome, you've got 2 weeks, where do you want to go in the world?
God. Well, I'd love to. I mean, I spent a year in school in London, and I've gone back a couple times since. But I still have friends, and I would love to get back to London. I would love to get back to Paris. As far as places that I spent an amazing week in Barcelona, which I loved. And I got to meet the head of Luna Negra.
Yeah.
We got together in Barcelona. That was amazing. Sort of a meeting of the minds and festival organizers. Wow. That was really fun. But I would love to get to Czechoslovakia. That's always way up on my list. Maybe do a post-apocalyptic festival. Get to Prague in the same trip.
Junktown.
Junktown is awesome.
It's amazing, and I would love to get out there. But yeah, there's a ton of places I would love to go. I love to travel.
Oh wow! So what is your favourite food when you are out? If you can go to any kind of restaurant, what's the one that you always go?
Favorite food? Wow. Well, I'm more of an alcohol guy, but I would say that. Oh shit, that's a really tough one. There's so many restaurants here in Los Angeles that I like. So here's a one. Not necessarily my favorite, but I do love this place. The actor Danny Trejo. He opened a bunch of taco restaurants, and so I love to go to Trejo's Tacos, and he has Trejo's Donuts, and those are great. I love, I love. God, it's too long a list. I have my favorite burgers in LA. I have my favorite Chinese food. I have my favorite Thai food. I have my favorite Indian food. It's a great city to be in and to be able to eat. I love everything up and down the scale. I love everything from great, greasy, like mom and pop fast food kind of joints, all the way up to Michelin-starred celebrity chefs. So I love it all, and I hope to get on and do more of it once all this stuff is over.
I must admit, that's the one thing we have every time we come over to Wasteland is. Everybody tries to diet to get ready for Wasteland, so we look good on stage. But the food in America is so good; it's so amazing.
And there's so much of it.
Oh, it is.
They give you twice as much per portion. Is twice as much as what you.
It's amazing. It is amazing. So the amount of weight, we're always, a lot larger on the way back. Is there any bit?
I try.
Sorry.
I was going to say. Try to get in shape, and I do until about 2 event, and then I get so busy at the time. So I always end up there. I try for good shape, and I end up showing.
Do you get much chance at Wasteland to relax and enjoy it? I know that you're very, very busy all the time. I've never seen you chilled.
There is a tradition. We've gotten a little more the last couple of years. I will say that. I think Adam and I, this last Wasteland, I think it was on Thursday night. I don't know if it was this Wasteland or the one before, all kind of blur in my mind. But Adam and I had a drink together on 1 a.m. on Thursday night, and each other like, what is happening? Something's wrong. We shouldn't be able to do this right now because there's always some fire we're putting out.
The radio's not going or something.
Literally. But when the event basically ended and the main stage is shut, when the Atomic Cafe will shut down maybe around 2 a.m. or something, some of the senior staff will gather at the Atomic Cafe and have a celebratory drink, and then we wander down the street and through some of the tribes, and the group of us will stop in at tribes and say hello. And for everybody else, it's kind of the end of Wasteland, and for us, it's our first time that we get to kind of relax and say hello to everybody.
I must admit, we've got a tradition as well where I think, do we go mad on a Wednesday night or a third? Well, every night I think, really. Normally with the War Boys, I blame the Order of the V8. Oh. They're a naughty bunch.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yes.
And also,
they have a penchant for whipped cream vodka, which we tend to supply in copious quantities and try and break the War Boy.
Yeah, that's
it's interesting to see. Like the next morning, you head towards the gates and you look up and there's like 2 or 3 and they're looking green.
Witness!
Before you got 7 or 8 or 9, but that morning you're thinking, oh dear, sorry.
I can tell you a funny story. We've had a lot of complaints from our makeup department. So the body shop has been tasked with the job of some of the official War Boys, the one who go up on the war.
Yeah.
They get their body makeup, or they have up until now gotten their body makeup and some prosthetics supplied by our own shop personnel. We're a wonderful staff, most Hollywood-trained professional makeup artists.
Yeah,
and their complaint is that the war boys tend to drink a lot the night before, and then they sweat, and the alcohol comes out in their sweat, and it causes all the prosthetics to drop off their bodies.
Oops. Sorry.
I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, that's another one for V2A.
Dear.
Chalk it up.
One of the years we went. Carry on.
I was going to say, just to give you a heads up, I'm getting a little low on battery, so I've probably got a few more minutes with that. I'm sure everybody's sick of me by now anyway.
I think we better shut off in a moment. But one of the years we went drinking with the war boys, and what we decided to do is, if we went around to all the other tribes and met them and sort of, got on well, we could drink all their drinks, and then once we drank all their drinks, then we'd go on to the next tribe. And we started off with about 30 war boys, and by 6 in the morning, I think we had about 3 left. We just kept losing war boys all. So
they have a very short half-life.
We were going to get some stickers saying, "If found, please return to the."
Yeah, and if Larry and Barry and the Night Fevers don't get you, V2A will.
In fact, last year we got. I think Captain Timmy drank a lot of our firewater and wasn't very well, so poor old Rose had to carry him back in all his armour, in about £20 worth of armour.
For the gladiators.
I blame me as well. So
if he had 20 pounds of armour on, that must have been a total of about 100 pounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just about.
Is there anybody,
the biggest.
Before we go, first of all, is there anybody you'd like to do a shout out to, Jared?
God, too many. Obviously, Adam, who runs Wasteland with me every year, and our staff, and you guys, and anybody who's tuned in. I'm not actually like the messages, so I don't know who's actually watching. But thank you for everybody who bothered to tune in for this. Just thank you to all the volunteers who make Wasteland happen every year. You guys, every year, I'm stunned by the selflessness and the work. People who love the community and want to continue. And there's no way we'd be able to do it without you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Well said.
So just before we go, Stig, do we have on the Thunderdome? Do we have a winner? Was it Dread? Was it Zod?
Unfortunately for Skelly, it's Dread, but I think that's partially due to the fact that an awful lot of our chatville are Dread
They're all Dread fans.
So I think it was slightly biased in his favour at the outset. However, it is
awesome.
Dread.
Congratulations.
They're both pictures of me, so I win either way.
They are. And then over to Mechanized.
Never.
Ever? Okay, so did I ever pump a monkey or massage?
Pamper.
Oh, Pamper.
That's a different show.
Yeah, sorry, but I've tried.
Pump Up the Monkey is one of my favorite Peter Gabriel songs.
Pump up the monkey.
So, Jared, which do you think is the truth, and which do you think is a made-up?
What, the pumped up monkey or the masked rhino?
I've put into this, and the rhino being a much rarer, more endangered species, that would be much more difficult to pull off, which is why I think it's the rhino.
Okay, Mechanized.
What did everybody else think?
Stig, what did the crowd say?
Oh, I'm going to move the cat out of the way now. You've annoyed me, cat, now, because it's sat on my piece of paper.
Honestly,
well, it's half and half. We've got half monkey, half rhino.
Okay, well, the rhino is true. I did a rhino care day.
Hey!
Well done.
And did you enjoy it?
I loved it, except shit traveling. Like one shit was one wheelbarrow, so I don't need to do that again.
Did the rhino enjoy it?
Rhino did. The massage. It was really a great experience because I like rhinos, and it was just like this world, to be that close, and the massage, and just was amazing.
Wow. So thank you very much, Jared. You are truly a star, sir. We will be back. Are we okay to come next year? Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Can I just say, before we go offline, I would like to send all my wishes over actually to the US, where all the moment it's happening.
Yeah.
So because definitely. I know a lot of people are involved by it, not part of it, but it's a scary time for everyone, and I hope everybody will stay safe. I hope everything calms down in a good manner. So my thoughts are with you all.
Definitely, and also a big cheers to Bob and Doug, and good luck, guys, on the way to the space station. How exciting! Elon Musk, the dude is awesome. I must admit, I am a fan. Have you ever met him, Jared?
I haven't. Some of our Wastelanders have. In fact, the Wastelander, Wes Fenton from the Gladiators.
Wes, yeah.
He actually created a couple of axes for Elon Musk. Elon make him a couple of axes to put onto. Yeah, I think some folks met Elon. We'll drag him out to Neotropolis one of these in his new truck.
Oh, the truck! Oh, the Cybertruck!
The Cybertruck is so cool. Yeah. I've pre-ordered one already. I had to go for the goth black one, of course. Nice. A quick question, sir. We have the Wasteland Gladiators on next week, so we have the Crazy Gang. Is there a question you would like to ask them?
Ooh, Wow. I'm trying to think of questions that won't get me or that won't get Wasteland in trouble. I'll leave it up to them. I would just ask them how they've felt it has evolved over the years, crowds and the number of participants and all of that. What it was like the first time you did it versus say last year. I'd just be a change.
Awesome. I must admit, the Wasteland Gladiators we love. It's such an amazing show. That, along with the Thunderdome and all the different bars, and it's just honestly, guys,
everything.
You've got to you have to go to Wasteland Weekend in your life, guys. You have not lived until you've been there. It's world changing. It really is.
And then you'll go back.
Back every year like us.
Yeah.
So, Jared, thank you. Oh, sorry.
And tickets are on sale now at Wasteland.
Yeah, get them now.
Roll up.
I think that.
Yeah, we'll put the link
on. The link is in the text.
Also, this webcast, this is on YouTube, so it's on there and it gets reshared. And a lot of people watch in Australia. They watch later on today and tomorrow, so a lot of people do catch up. It also comes out as a podcast tomorrow night on iTunes and Google Cast and everywhere else. So it's just growing and growing and growing. Right. It's getting massive now. So. Massive thank you. Excellent. We've also got some people from the BBC going to keep posting it on and trying to share it as well, so that's really good. So, Jared, any last words before we fly off into the night?
Thank you, everyone from the coast here in Los Angeles. We love you all. Thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you all in the flesh as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Good night, everybody. And we will see you next week with the Wasteland Gladiators.
Last words, don't forget to subscribe. Oh, yes. If you haven't subscribed, you're an idiot. Do so now.
Subscribe.
Hit that bell for notification. If you don't like us, hit it twice.
Okay, cheers, guys. Bye. Good night, everybody.
Bye.